Hi folks, Jack Spirgo here from the Survival Podcast. I'm out at Bob Wells Nursery, but I'm actually looking at a product from a company called Dave Wilson Nursery that Bob resells apparently. And there's a couple cool things about what Dave Wilson's doing that I thought you guys might want to know about, especially those of you with really small spaces. A lot of you guys are telling me you can only plant so many trees because you got a small yard. Well, with this tree right here, I've got an apricot, I've got a plum, I've got a let me make sure I get this right. I got an apricot, a plum, a peach, and a nectarine all in one tree, like a fruit cocktail tree. And all that is we got a common rootstock that they can all be grafted to. And then we have a leader branch of each of the varieties grafted onto it. So that's kind of one way you can really start to put a lot of diversity. And of course, they can all cross-pollinate with each other, and that gives you a lot more fertility out of it. What do we got here? This is a Lappin's cherry. So this is a different approach. So cherries are generally not self-fertile, which means you need two different trees so they can cross-pollinate with each other. But this tree here actually is self-fertile. So if you wanted a cherry in your backyard and you didn't want to have two trees for just to have cherries, you could plant this one plant and then have cherries. So that's another thing from Dave Wilson. This is all Lappin's. Then up here, these are two cherry varieties I actually have selected for my design. This is Mini Royal and this is Royal Lee. The thing about these two cherries is they only require 300 hours of chill hours a year. That is hours below 45 degrees. So in zone 7, zone 8, these cherries will do really, really well for us. And there's not many places in North America, continental United States, that you don't get at least at. There's a few places, and if you're there, you're growing citrus, and I don't want to hear you complain about cherries anyway. So here we have a low chill variety cherry, again, a Dave Wilson Nursery product. As we come back here, we come into some of the stuff that don't be misled. This is not genetically modified stuff. This is hybrid. We're taking two different things and crossing them. This is an aperum, which is an apricot crossed with a plum called cotton candy. So this is something very unique that your neighbors may not have. This guy here is another aperum, a Flavor Delight, and that's more of the same. This is a Flavor King Kumquat. So this is a plum apricot cross. This is another Pludot, which is another plum apricot cross. And somewhere in here, there was a plum, I can't find it now, but there was a plum apricot crossed back into another apricot. And that sounded really cool. So this is all just one little bit of what Bob's got here. Again, the Dave Wilson Nursery line stuff. And it allows you, again, to grow things where you normally couldn't, put a lot of diversity and variety in, and have some really unique stuff. I'm kind of bummed out that we didn't select any of this stuff now, but we'll be extending those edges, and I'll probably be back out here. We're going to poke around. Maybe we'll find something else to talk about before we leave. So this is kind of a unique thing I wanted to show you guys. Most people, I think, when they think of a nursery, just think of a bunch of trees in pots. But when you order bare root trees, that saves a lot on shipping, and honestly, it lets them bring a lot of their trees through the winter and grow things in a climate where normally they wouldn't grow. And all we got here is a bunch of sand. And you can see behind me, there's bundles of trees everywhere. And those trees are just pruned off before winter, bundled up and put in the ground and kept in damp sand. As long as this sand is kept nice and damp, and you can see it is nice and damp, those trees will survive just fine. And as customers order them, they'll take them out of dormancy and either ship them to a customer, or they'll pot them up. You can see also now kind of just the progression here. So we've got the trees being overwintered right behind me and over to my left and over to my right. They're just constantly up front right now, potting up trees for local customers, people that come in locally, other nurseries they ship stuff off to. And because we're going into a time where the trees are going to start wanting to break bud, and they need to get them into those pots so they can get established before the heats get here. But this is just, I mean, this is something I've really quite, never quite actually saw before until we came out here. And it's really, really interesting. And from what Bob was saying, this whole thing was nothing but trees just a month ago, and they've been, again, potting them up and shipping them out. And then the other thing he was telling me was really cool is they actually have kind of a produce business here. So as soon as all these trees are gone, they come in with some compost and mulch, and they grow peas and beans and tomatoes and all kinds of stuff like that. And then they have a little produce stand. So this is whether they know they're doing permaculture or not, really this is a function stacking area. All right, so continuing to dig around at Bob Wells Nursery, a lot of you guys have heard me talk about Jujubes on the show. This is actually what they look like before they leaf out for the year. And you can see they're quite thorny. And a Jujube, we'll get a shot later with the camera, but they look like a little apple. They have a single large pit. They're known as Chinese date. And there's two varieties that I've selected for my design. One is Li and one is Lang. All of these here are Li. Now, what's cool about that is the Li actually fruits first. And it's a very, very sweet fruit. And you eat that fresh. The Lang fruits second, and it's not that great fresh. You leave it actually dry on the tree. And when it dries on the tree, it goes up to some insane like 45% sugar content, and it tastes like a date. So you end up with two trees that cross-pollinate each other. They're very, very hardy. They handle cold, they handle heat, and then you end up with two different varieties. One that's a long-term storable and one that's a fresh fruit. So give Jujubes a chance. And there's some other varieties. GA822 is one you might want to check out. There's a contorted variety, but the most well-known ones are the ones that Bob has here, Li and Lang. All right, so the last thing I wanted to show you before we head on home is one of the things I think people don't think they can do in a little bit colder climate, some citrus and some avocado varieties that we learned about while we're here. Right alongside of me here I've got a kumquat. This is a sweet kumquat. Now this probably would not be cold hardy outdoors, but this tree only gets about this big. Could easily be put in a pot on casters and brought in for the winter. You can see they're actually producing kumquats right now. What do we got here? We've got a Tangelo, which is like a little tangerine orange hybrid. We've got Sunburst Tangerine. Over here we've got mandarins. And this is a Satsuma Mandarin. This is another thing Bob told me, even zone 7 in a good sunny area, that this tree will survive. If you get the wrong frost at the wrong time, it may kill your blossoms and you may not get fruit, but this tree is hardy to zone 7. Another Satsuma. Moving down here, we have Kiefer Lime. Kiefer Lime is really a great tree. The leaves are just, they smell like a lime. You have to trust me, I don't have smell cam or anything, but the leaves actually smell and taste like lime. And this is actually used in a lot of Thai cooking. You just pull the leaves off and chop them up and use them in your cooking instead of using the zest off of lime. So this tree, as long as you can keep it alive, is worth growing, whether you get a lot of fruit off it or not. That's another example of something people wouldn't really think they could do in cool temperate climates. And I'm not saying you can do this in Michigan or anything, but a lot of us that are on the zone 8, zone 7 area, this is another Satsuma. Then down here, this is something I'm really excited about, Meyer Lemon. But way down here, this actually made me buy more trees. Bob told me I could do avocados, and once I got them established in the first year, they would survive and fruit for me. Now this is great because I like guacamole and I like avocado, and I just thought this was something that I would have to get really, really creative to figure out how to make it survive. But he's got two varieties, he said, that are hardy in his zone 7. One's called Mexola, Mexicola or Mexola, I'm not sure how you would say it, we'll put it in the notes for you. And the other one is called Brazos Bell. So these avocados here are something that we can grow in a cool temperate climate. And they should do very well for us. You can see back here's a few that got a little bit hit by frost, but you can see even the bottoms of them did survive. And what he told me is once that tree's in the ground, it can handle it. The reason they get hit so hard by the frost here when they're getting them ready to send to customers is because we got temperatures like 14 degrees the other day, and that'll actually freeze the entire pot where the ground itself won't freeze when you end up with temperatures like that. But I'm impressed, guys. If you are anywhere near Lindale, Texas, which is just north of Tyler, get on out and see Bob and his crew. They're great guys, and they've been really cool to us at TSP. You'll be hearing a lot more about them, and look forward to catching up with you on all the plant we're going to be doing after today.